Well, good afternoon, Doonhamers, and welcome to another halftime interview with myself, Finlay Jack. Today I'm living a young Finlay's dream as I'm joined by a Queen's Hall of Famer, record breaker, and the King of Queens himself, Stephen Dobbie. Thanks for joining me, Stephen.
No problem. How are you doing, Finlay?
So first things first, we're going to go back to your spell in 2007 when you joined Queen's under Ian McCall. You came in off the back of quite an impressive spell at Dunbar, I think 10 goals in 17 games. Was it an easy decision to come back to full-time football with Queen of the South?
Yeah, I was on loan, obviously, from St Johnstone then. I just had a hernia operation done, and I went for some game time at Dumbarton, and it kind of kicked me off again. And then when the gaffer had phoned, and I went and spoke to him and had a meeting with him, and he just persuaded me this was the club I needed to come to. So it was the right decision.
Ian McCall's obviously, he's helped Lawrence Shankland out finding his form after a bit of a poor start to his career. You came to Queen's and you've met before in the past, you perhaps were in the best shape of your life. Did he help you really knuckle down and get into good physical condition?
Yeah, I think he was probably the kickstarter because I think he kind of showed me what I could do on the pitch and where I could get to if I applied myself and a little bit more off the pitch. So he was the one definitely that kick-started it, and then Gordon Chisholm, who was his number 2 at the time, when he got the manager job, he kind of reiterated it, and obviously we ended up getting to the cup final and then getting my move to Swansea the year after. So a lot is to do with the both of them.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the following season when we got to the cup final. What are your memories from that cup run?
Yeah, it feels like a different lifetime ago, actually, how long ago it was. But yeah, obviously I remember, was it Linlithgow Rose we beat on a foggy day at Palmerston. And then obviously onto the Dundee game where everybody forgets my goal from that day because McCann scored for the 84 yards. And actually my goal was in it, like, it sticks in my memory. It was a cracker that day that Jamie had punted it all the way down the field and I controlled it, and outside my right boot half volleyed it into the corner. But everybody seems to forget it because McCann took the spotlight off it. But it was an absolutely great feeling that day.
It must have been a special moment when you scored that because the terrace was completely sold out, so you would have just seen limbs everywhere behind you.
Yeah, obviously looking back at it, I always see it. Especially you always see the McCann goal, and the reaction of the fans is just something that you can't take away from being there that day.
What were the celebrations like after that game? Because I can imagine it was a big night out in Dumfries.
No, I can't remember. I don't think there was after the Dundee game. I'm not sure if we had a game very close to it, but a lot of people didn't know that I actually broke my hand 3-4 days before the quarter final. During training, I split right down the middle of 2 fingers. So I went to the hospital and they said I would have to give up football for 6 weeks. And I was like, yeah, no chance. We've got a quarter final in a couple of days. So I was watching the celebrations because I had a cast on my hand to make sure I didn't any more damage.
And in the semi-final in April against Aberdeen, I've watched the highlights back, I don't know how many times now, and you went off injured in the 43rd minute. You didn't look best pleased. What was going through your mind? Yeah,
obviously just gutted because you wait and you see, we obviously thought the boys were thinking we're going to play Celtic because they were playing Aberdeen at Parkhead, and obviously Aberdeen won. So you're building and building and building, and all your family and getting them all ready for it. And then end up coming off early and just disappointed that I couldn't help the team. It's going that back, it was Jackie McNamara ended up injured me, so that's how long ago it was that Jackie was still playing. But obviously then it changed the game, and wee Budgie came on, and the boys done unbelievable.
How was because before the Rangers game we had 4 weeks off without a game of football just because the season finished before the Premiership did. What was that like? Because I know you trained abroad, and I think even a few of the boys went down to watch the Rangers UEFA Cup final.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a few years obviously. I were big Rangers fans at the time, we're just excited for our game, and it was a big period. 4 weeks is a lot when you've not got any games. I think we played Hearts in a friendly to try and keep and we went away, as you said, went abroad to Marbella to try and keep the fitness up. So that was tough, and it probably showed in the last 20 minutes of the cup final because we put so much into it, and maybe that's what was lacking just at the end.
What was the changing room like after that game? Because obviously we lost 3-2 and you go into these games to win, but you put a really good show for yourselves up. You came back from 2-0 down. It was a really good performance.
Yeah, obviously, as I said, the build-up when you've got all your family and getting ready, and the boys are, right, I know we're playing Rangers and they've just been beating the Europa League final. But we thought if we could go and do what we've been doing in the cup, we could upset them. And obviously coming in at a half-time, 2-0 down, Chizzy just said, listen, just give it a go. If we could beat 4-0 or 5-0, what's the difference if we beat 2-0? Where fans are here, and let's try and give them something to cheer about. And then obviously, when you go 2 each, you think we're going to win this. And unfortunately, it wasn't to be.
You played with some good strikers over your career, both at Queen's and down south. Big Sean O'Connor, where does he rank amongst them?
Yeah, great. I mean, Sean did fantastic for me as a like personally, because I'm not that much that's going to header the ball and maybe fight the defenders. And Sean, a lot of people don't know how good Sean was actually with the ball. It was just unfortunate he had a bad knee, and he didn't train as much as the rest is to keep that up. But Sean was, I mean, I think you've seen in the semi-final, Sean absolutely battered Aberdeen, and obviously wee Budgie got some goals as well. So Sean was great. We still got him in text, so keep in contact with him all the time.
Did you keep in contact with many of the boys from that team?
Yeah, we've got a WhatsApp group with all the boys from the team. So it's we were actually going to have a reunion night out before the COVID stuff happened. So we'll definitely do it when all this hopefully life goes back to normal.
Good stuff. And obviously the cup final helped us get into Europe, qualifying next year. You were, I think, to the shock of many Queen's fans, left on the bench for both those games. What was kind of going through? You found that you weren't playing.
Yeah, I was obviously disappointed. I think Chizzy brought Stuart Keenan, and he obviously just went for him in the game. So it's one of the things you go through your career so many times that you think you're going to play and then you don't play, and then you maybe come off the bench and score and you think I'm going to play next game, that you don't play. So it's one of them where you're obviously disappointed, but you've got to just get on with it. And obviously got myself in the team and then never came out at the rest of the season.
Yeah, 24 goals that season. You got yourself really into good shape, top goal scorer in the league, and then a big move down south. I'm assuming that was a bit of a no-brainer.
Yeah, it was close. It was close to, obviously there was a few teams in Scotland in the Premier League, but when the chance of Swansea came up and I'd scored quite a few goals. I think it was the St Johnstone away, I got 2, and then the next game against Clyde I got 4. So it kind of sealed the deal at Swansea. We went down on a Monday and met Roberto Martinez, and it all got done in a day.
You had a few months at Swansea, but then you went on loan to Blackpool. I think you had about 4 spells or something on loan at Blackpool. How was that? Obviously, you went to Wembley in the end, and you came on in front of 82,000 to get to the Premier League.
Yeah, oh, it's surreal. I mean, obviously, as you said, I was at Dumbarton maybe 4 years before that. But then I worked tirelessly hard and getting the move to Swansea, and then obviously had to go on loan to Blackpool. But to pinch yourself when you're at Wembley because of where you'd been 4 years ago was a dream. But the thing is, you've got to be lucky and work hard at the same time. So the players I played with at Blackpool were fantastic, and we all fitted in together and managed to achieve something.
You mentioned how surreal it was in the 4 years, but even the year before that, you were playing in front of 2,000 at Palmerston and Clyde and Airdrie week in, week out to 82,000 at Wembley.
Yeah, I mean, that was fantastic. The most thing for me was the family was there, coming watching you, and they've seen, as you said, like 4 years ago we were at Dumbarton and playing at the Rock in front of 200 people, 300 people to go into that. So it's great memories now, great pictures, and obviously winners' medals to keep.
And you done the hard bit by getting promoted to the Premier League, but you're only on loan, so you had to go back to the Championship with Swansea. One interesting thing that I want to ask you about is you went from playing under Ian Holloway, who's so charismatic, such a character, to Brendan Rodgers, who's far more of a reserved manager. What were they like? Because they're completely opposite managers, aren't they?
Yeah, well, when obviously I went on loan to Blackpool, and it was Ian Holloway, and he was fantastic, just crazy all the time. One of the lads, and he just made it every day going into work happy and funny and a lot of enjoyment in it. But it was Paulo Sousa that was the manager back at Swansea. So over the summer, obviously Holloway said, "Yeah, I want to sign you." I think they agreed, obviously personal terms, but the fee couldn't get agreed. And then all of a sudden Brendan came in and said, "No, I want to keep you. I really like you," and offered a new contract. So we ended up staying with Swansea then, and Brendan was absolutely fantastic. Knows everything about football. Turned me from a number 9 into a number 10, and to fit into his team, and it obviously worked because we ended up winning promotion at the end of that season as well.
And there were some fantastic players in that team. I was looking for the team list just before this, like Ashley Williams, Leon Britton, Scott Sinclair, Nathan Dyer. What a team to be a part of.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is through hard work, but you've got to be lucky with the players round about you and their right mentality at the same time, that they want to achieve what you want to achieve. So that team, the Swansea team, it's probably the best team I've ever played in.
Mm-hmm. That playoff final, everyone will remember it for Scott Sinclair's hat-trick. You got the other goal in that final. You also got an assist as well. That must be one of your favourite, if not your favourite ever goal you've scored.
Yeah, probably, for the reason of it, obviously in front of all that crowd, and for the chance to get to the biggest league in the world, to put that in was phenomenal. It was a great feeling for the next week after it.
And then you finally got a punt in the Premier League the next season. A lot of people remember it as Sergio Aguero's Premier League debut, but it was also your Premier League debut.
Yeah.
What was that like, lining up next to Aguero and Silva and all these big names in the changing rooms?
Yeah, it was obviously that was the dream had came, because that's where I wanted to do it the year before and didn't get my move to Blackpool because Paulo was the manager. But then when Brendan came in, it was just a matter of getting down to it. But to play in the Premier League, I could have never dreamed it when I was at Dumbarton a couple of seasons before. When me and the wife were on holiday and when the fixtures were coming out, and I think I was in the pool and we've got Man City away first game, right? Better get to the gym. Straight away back into the gym getting ready for it. So it was fantastic. I loved every minute.
You only made 7 Premier League appearances, I think, but you played some of the biggest teams in those, didn't you? You played City and United as well.
Yeah, City, United, Liverpool, not Liverpool, Tottenham. So played against some great players. So it was, as I said, it was from where I was to then, it's great memories, great photos to keep.
And you went back to Blackpool. You managed to make it 3 in a row playoff finals. This one didn't quite get promoted, but yeah, you had a few clubs down south. What was the kind of highlight of those next 4 years? Brighton, Palace, Fleetwood, the likes, before joining Queens again.
Probably going to Palace under Holloway again. We went to Brighton under Gus Poyet, and it didn't really work out. Didn't really play a number 10 where I was playing. So I found myself more on the bench or on the left wing. And then Ian Holloway obviously took over at Palace, and he phoned me and says, "Right, listen, I want to sign you again." So it was a no-brainer. It was working under the gaffer was fantastic every day. So it was a matter of get the deal done and let's get to Palace.
I say you had a few more clubs, Bolton as well, one of them, and then you rejoined Queens in the summer of 2016. Was that an easy decision?
Yeah, easy decision. Over my career, I always kept in touch with my big mate Jimmy Thompson.
Yeah.
So Jimmy just gave me a random text. You want to come back with some smiley faces, and I says, give us a phone call. We had a chat for about half an hour. I spoke to Gavin Skelton, who was the manager at the time. I drove up and met him in a little hotel in Penrith, and we had a good chat. and the deal got done that night. So yeah, it wasn't didn't take long, to be honest.
And you were straight into the team. Obviously, you had a couple of games on the bench first. The second game on the bench was at Easter Road at Hibs, where one of the club you started here in instant impact. You scored, and you got an assist for Lyndon Dykes actually, and that was obviously a partnership in the blossoming.
Yeah, obviously it was good to get back playing for Queens, because I always said one day I would come back because of what they did for me at my early part of my career. And then coming into that team, you had guys like Derek Lyle, who I'd obviously seen play, but never, I didn't know him or anything like that. And he was fantastic, great guy, great about the change room. Lyndon was there. You had boys like Andy Dowie, Chris Higgins. So you had experienced players in there, and we probably should have done better that season with the team we had.
I want to ask you about Lyndon Dykes, because obviously he's now making a name for himself down south, playing for Scotland. You must take a little bit of credit, at least, for helping him get to where he is.
No, you obviously, being an older professional, through the training sessions, you obviously try and help the younger boys. Whether it's him, Conor Murray, that was here before, you just try and not try. They obviously got to make their own mistakes, but you've got to, after they do that, try and help them and explain that I've made the same mistakes as well, and this is how I worked around it. That obviously older boys at that time would have helped me. So it's it's good to see him doing well.
So on the talk of Scotland, there was talks of you a couple of years ago when you got 43 goals that season, and then also when you were in the south. Was there ever talks between you and any of the managers about joining up?
No, not at that time. I think might have been different if it was Steve Clark. He was obviously getting like Shanks his chance when he was in the championship and that, but I think there was more a reluctance to give players for the championship a try at international level. But for me, that season was just unbelievable. Like the boys, the team, the characters in the dressing room, and to score the record number of goals, that I think everybody's seen when I did what it meant to me.
Yeah, it was a crazy season, 43 in the end. I think he got 6 or 7 hat-tricks, which is unbelievable. Is there any game that sticks out in your mind from that season?
Probably the Ayr game at home, being the derby, and I came off actually a wee bit gutted that I didn't get 5 because I missed a penalty. But as I said, that group of players, if we didn't, I think we went 9 unbeaten, 9 without winning, because we had quite a few injuries. Because I think I must have missed about 8 or 9 games in that season as well with my hamstring. So that was a bit disappointing, because if I could have made that 50, that would have been amazing.
And obviously, one goal that everyone remembers, it came the losing effort, but the one at Pittodrie, that was wow.
Yeah, I remember the ball just dropped to me, and for some reason, Gary Naismith put Michael Doyle on the right wing that day, and when I looked up and I seen him on the right wing, I thought it's either hit it for 45 yards or past the doily. So I just got my head down and smashed it, and luckily it went in.
And then it took a wee bit of time to get your 42nd, 43rd goal of the record in the playoffs against Montrose. Was your family at that game? That must have been a real special moment for you and them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my wife was there, my 2 sons were there. They'd made some posters. They must have been more confident than I was that I was going to break it. But as I said, I think I was injured for 4 or 5 games just before that. So I was obviously still catching up in fitness. But to get the goals in the first half, to break the record in front of our crowd, was absolutely, the support from my family, and that's fantastic.
And what's it like playing in front of that crowd? Because every game, obviously not so much now without the fans, but there's always flags of you there, and there's always fans singing your songs when they're in the stadium. It must be special.
It is. I mean, and obviously I got the great honour of the statue round about the arena. So what pleases me is you've seen a lot of more young supporters coming. They come in little groups. They've got their obviously their drums and all that kind of stuff, and they're starting to go to away games. So, and that's what teams like Queen of South are all about. I'm going to the games with their mates and trying to get memories, so then they can talk about it in later years. I've seen him play, and that's the kind of thing.
was speaking to strikers from last season and the season before, then this season as well, the likes of Tommy Gosson, Connor Shields. They're saying that it's just a dream almost to learn off you. What advice do you give them? Obviously, you're an experienced striker, you've been around the block, but you've scored plenty of goals. Is coaching something that you relish doing, you enjoy doing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've done all my badges, so it's definitely one thing that I'm when I hang the boots up, I'll be looking to go into. But yeah, I love it every day, just chatting away to the lads and try to give them wee snippets of advice. And I think if they can take it on board, then that's great. If they don't and they think something else is better and that maybe suits them better, then that's the way they obviously got to learn through what they're doing.
How have you found this season personally for you? Because you were one of 3 players that was retained from last season. I think you must have played with about over 50 players since you returned to Queen's. But how's this been? Because it's been the biggest change that you've probably seen at any club.
Yeah, it's not been an easy season with obviously what's happened with the COVID and all that kind of stuff, and with the season finishing last year, and then as I said, gone back, and as you said there, we only had Holt. There was only Holt and me and Jack, and then eventually Dan Pybus signed back, and then it's a brand new whole team again, and that probably happens. It's happened the last 2 seasons too much because it takes a bit of time to bed these players in, and you kind of. It's just the way it is in football, especially now. That might carry on for another couple of seasons, but all the boys that have came have been great lads, and just hope we can do better for the club.
Yeah, they're beginning to gel together now. Obviously, you've been out injured for a wee while. You're seeing Connor Shields score some goals. Dan Pybus is playing well behind. How are you going to get back into the team?
Yeah, it's something new. I've been there plenty of times in my career. But it's more important that the club's doing well and the team's doing well than how I'm going to get back in the team, because when I'm back fit, I just do my own stuff. And as anybody that knows me, I believe in myself. So it's just a matter of I'll do the right things and work hard, and hopefully the team keeps winning, and I can help along the way.
How are you feeling physically now? Because you're in the last year of your contract. It's generally been rolling contracts for yourself anyway. Can you see yourself after this season, or do you think it's time up?
I still feel fit. Obviously, maybe playing the 38 games or 50 games that in a season now, maybe getting a bit too much. But fitness-wise, like when I'm off fit and away from the injury, I'm feeling good. So I'll probably leave it to maybe March and decide what I'm going to do at the end. As you say, it has been a rolling contract, but sometimes that you get to that situation that younger players have got to take up the mantle. So we'll wait and see. We've no decision yet.
Well, I'm sure it's music to people's ears that you've not decided that you're going to retire just yet. One final question I want to ask you. You've had an amazing career, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. If you were to build a 5-a-side team of the best players you've played with, and a manager as well, if you like, over your whole career, be it friends, be it just quality players, who would it be? Who would be your 5-a-side team?
Yeah, just from any team.
Any team.
Yeah, I definitely not have Jimmy Thompson in my team anyway, I'll tell you that. A quick one. My striker would probably be Kevin Phillips. Played at Palace with him, even he was about my age now, 38, and he was still probably the best finisher I've ever seen to train with and play with. Wilfred Zaha would be one of them. When we played 5-a-side, he could beat everybody himself. He was that good. Defensive wise, I'd probably put probably Ashley Williams in there. He'd kick his granny in training, so he would. That's how hard he was. Great player, obviously, captained his country and everything. Probably beside him, Barry Ferguson. Came through when I was coming through the ranks at Rangers, being the apprentice, used to clean his boots, and then got the chance to play with him at Blackpool. So, being a big Rangers fan, that was a great honour for myself. And in goal, I would probably put Doris de Vries from Swansea. Yeah, he was fantastic. Could play with his feet. He could have been outfield. He was that good with his feet. So that probably be my five-a-side team.
Super, Stephen. Well, thanks very much for joining me, mate. It's been lovely having a chat with you.
Always, anytime, Finlay. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Stephen. Thank you.